This is Joshua Hart, 4 seconds out. Delighted to be joined by Frank Warren here today in Nottingham. Frank, it's a huge week. Anthony Cacace versus Leigh Wood, one of the British fights of the year so far. How excited are you for this week to get underway, first of all?
I'm very excited to see both these guys sharing a ring together. I think, as you just said, it has the potential and probably could be the fight of the year. For both of them, it's a must-win fight. You know, Anto's coming into the Lion's Den. Leigh is obviously very well supported here. Former two-time world champion. He's been out of the ring for a little while. He's back now. For him, it's a fight that he needs to win to get himself back into contention to fight for a world title. And for Anto, it's a fight he wanted because obviously it's a money fight for him. It's great this is a British domestic bust-up, and he wants to go back and grab his titles back.
How do you see this fight unfolding on Saturday, and who do you believe comes out on top?
It's going to be an interesting fight. I think it's, you know, styles, as they say, make fights, and I think the combination of their styles will make this a very exciting fight. Who will win it? The one who wants it the most, and they both want it.
Absolutely. Anthony Cacace has been on a career best run in the last year or so, and in that time Leigh Wood's been inactive. We've not seen anything. How big of a factor do you feel not just Anthony Cacace's momentum but Leigh Wood's inactivity will come into play on the night?
Look, I know that Leigh's been in the gym. Our offices are not far from his gym in Hertfordshire, and I know that Ben's had him in there. He's a few times he's been to our office to work on contracts and that. He's came along and he's looked unbelievably fit. It took us a long while to get this sorted out. He's a smart guy. These guys are at a stage of their career where they know they have to keep themselves well. They're ticko. He's a consummate professional, as is Anto now. You know, from being the guy who didn't take it seriously, he's now had that light bulb moment, or you know, was it 18 months ago, whatever, and shown the world what he's all about and the class act that he is in the ring. So it's going to be an interesting fight.
And then just looking at the undercard, if you could pick one fight on there that you believe can steal the show, which fight on the undercard do you think has that potential?
That's a tough call. That's a real tough call. There's some great fights on the undercard. It's a very competitive show. I'm looking forward to Ezra's fight. That's going to be quite an interesting fight. Although he's the home fighter, Troy's the favourite for the fight, so that's going to be interesting. There's some fabulous fighting. I'm looking forward to, obviously, Sam's fighting on the card. The Chris Congo's got a tough fight. I mean, it's a really good fight card.
Just looking away from this show here and looking back at the weekend, we know that you were over in Saudi Arabia for Canelo, going two-time undisputed world champion, and a fight where you could even see Canelo was visibly frustrated afterwards. Did you feel let down by William School's approach come the end of the fight?
I think Williamson is what he is. I mean, he's a boxer, but what he wasn't doing earlier on in the fight, he's a mover. You could see what he is. He slips and slides, makes you miss. But he wasn't. A lot of his punches were falling short to start with. But once he got his range, you know, it made him. You know, he was catching Canelo. I thought it was a much closer fight, certainly than one of the judges.
So did you agree with that 115-113 card? So I've heard a lot of mixed responses on it.
I didn't think there was a lot in it. I really don't. It's about punches landing. You know, it's about the punches landing. But it makes the Crawford fight, who was at ringside, it makes it a more interesting proposition now. I always say a good big and beat a good little one. And for me, Canelo was a big favourite. I know that Crawford had a tough fight against Modradov, or whatever his name is. Is it Modradov? Madradov. Yeah, he had a tough fight against him, but and I thought, you know, that may make it more difficult. But I thought Canelo at times struggled with a boxer, and one thing Crawford can do, he can box.
We'll come on to Canelo.
That's going to be a real intriguing fight to watch now. I think it's more, where it was Canelo up there, I think it's going to be a bit like this. Whether giving the weight away is going to affect Crawford, I don't know, but it could be it's certainly going to be a more interesting fight than I thought it was.
We'll come on to Canelo Crawford shortly, but just quickly, we know that Anthony Joshua was in attendance and did his media round speaking to all the press. And in an interview with us here at Seconds Out, he said to my colleague Gaiman Khan, when asked about his rivals, Deontay Wilder and obviously Tyson Fury, he's ready whenever they are. Obviously, we know that he's got an elbow surgery coming up soon. But does that fight have a few more legs to stand on now? AJ seems interested. We've seen Tyson back in the gym with SugarHill. Does it have any legs to stand on?
It's up to Tyson. You know, AJ obviously wants it. It's up to Tyson whether he comes back or not, and that's going to be a decision he and he alone will make. I'm not in any way going to try and influence him, or even I've even had a discussion with him about it, and I wouldn't. You know, whatever he's going to do, he'll do.
Frank, I'll pick this back up after the press conference. See you shortly. Thank you. Cheers, Frank. Thank you very much.
First, we're going to go this way.
Frank, can you just talk to me about bringing back those big nights to Nottingham? Obviously, we've got Lee, Echo, and Ezra all in the Queensbury. Do you think Nottingham could become a real hub for boxing?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the fans have come out in their droves. We're nigh on sold out. We've got a fabulous fight card, a marvellous main event, and the undercard is real competitive 50-50 fights.
Is there any way the main event can't be a fight of the year contender?
No, I don't think it'll be a contender. I think it will be fight of the year.
And then finally, on Ezra, it's his first fight back in Nottingham since his debut. Is this a real chance for him to stamp his authority on the city?
It is. Look, and it's not got an easy fight. You know, 11-0, 12-0, Nottingham versus Birmingham. You know, these guys both fancy it. They know what's at stake here. Again, competitive, great fight. Ezra's a great fighter. Troy's a great fighter. We'll get something special out of that as well, I believe.
Frank, Leigh Wood's obviously had a long layoff in boxing terms. How much do you think that's going to affect him on the night?
We'll see. I mean, the one thing about him, he trains not far from my office in Hertfordshire. And when he's come in, each time he's come in to see me, he's been in training. And we've been talking for probably nearly about 9 months now. And he's been training hard. I know that in that time he's always looked in great nick. You only got to look at him. He's got the skills. He's been there. He's done it. And at that age, at his age, he knows his body. And he believes he's going to win this fight, as does Anto.
With Anto as well, you know, he's fought in some large stadiums, large crowds. He's going to have to drown the crowd noise out in Nottingham. I mean, last time Leigh was here, well, not last time, but when he fought Mick Conlon, we saw what happened there. Do you think that's going to be a demon?
Well, he wants to cut. He told me he wants to get revenge for Belfast, for the Irish. So, but you've got to take your hat off to Anto, coming into Leigh's backyard and the passionate support he's got here. But he believes in himself, as they both do. So as I keep saying, and I'll bang on about it, this is going to be something special.
Cheers, Frank.
Thank you.
Frank, you mentioned in the press conference that a future fight for the winner of this fight, a massive fight on the cards for the winner. Can you dive into any information on that at this point?
Not at this moment, because we're still in talks with somebody and we'll see where it goes.
Do you feel that Leigh Wood's activity might play a pivotal part in this fight, or do you think that in past fights where you've seen him come good at the 11th hour and get a win over the line, could that happen again?
I don't know. You know, we're going to find out on the night. I think, you know, he wouldn't be in the fight if he didn't feel he could win it. He's got all the advantages, as I said, being at home, his support. He's not stupid, as I said earlier on to the chap just here. He's been training hard. I know he's been training hard for well over a year, local to where my office is, down with Ben Davison. And this is the fight he wanted.
And just a quick one on Ezra Taylor. Very charismatic guy, lots of potential. What does he bring to Queensbury Promotions?
He brings all those things you just said, all of them, and more importantly, he can fight. But he's in with somebody who also can fight in Troy. It's a cracker of a fight, you know, both undefeated, Birmingham versus Nottingham. It's a Midlands derby. It's got everything you need to be something of a. Well, it won't be a pot boiler. It will be an absolute boiling event. It's going to be a cracker of a fight.
Cheers, Frank.
Frank, I just wanted to quickly pick up from where we left off. Just looking on Canelo versus Crawford. Crawford's had a bit of a running theme over the last few years of just one fight per year. How important is that inactivity going to be for him, but as well as having that time to properly bulk up to be a super middleweight?
Well, Canelo normally fights twice a year, doesn't he? So they're not like they're at that age where that's what happens with some fighters. What I think is going to be the telling part of the fight is having watched him in with Skull, having seen him with him, is that Harry at times he was struggling a bit with the boxer, and Crawford can box. That thing of being of the good big and beat the good little one, I think it's evening it up a little bit more now, because I feel that Crawford may negate some of the things he's done. Looking at him, Harry was struggling at times with dealing and coping with Skull's moves.
I know you said you won't be reaching out or trying to discuss anything with Tyson Fury, but seeing him back in the gym with SugarHill indicates he might be thinking about it. If he does give you the phone call and say, I want to give it another go, what names would you like to see him in there with, if not Anthony Joshua?
Well, Joshua obviously is top of the list. Maybe, I can't say a rematch with Usyk because I think he's going to get beaten, but there's a load of fights there for him if he wants to do it.
Cheers, Frank.
Sticking with your heavyweights, obviously he's got 6, I think it is, across the 4 governing bodies, either with a belt or ranked in the top 3. Obviously.